Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Monday, we got JC, got a lot to talk about. We'll have Mike Morgan from SEC Network join us as well. The brackets are set. Gator baseball, for all our Debbie Downers and negative Nellies out there, win the series. Take 2 out of 3 from the number 4 team in America. So I'm sure people can complain about something, I'm sure, that we didn't sweep them, but that's baseball. Softball continues to roll, and Gator baseball makes a great run in the in the SEC tournament. Lose Micah, hand locked into a terrible injury. So, supposedly surgery went well, but I think the Gators continue. They will roll in the tournament. I think the way they're set up in the bracket, you couldn't ask for better matchups, in my opinion. JC, you're on the Titan No More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. What's up?
I agree. I agree with all that. And, I don't think the committee, we'll start with basketball. Okay. Well, the committee didn't do 3 tournament champions any favors or UConn any favors, I think, in the East. I think they basically took the day off yesterday, and they basically said whoever wins these tournament games will go here and the loser will go there. And I think losing to Auburn helped Florida get the 7th seed in the South as opposed to the 4th seed in the East, because now the reward for Auburn is if they get through the first 2 rounds, they get to play UConn in Boston. Have a great day. And Florida, if they win their first 2 rounds in the South, they get to potentially play the lousy Kentucky Wildcats who can't stop anybody. So I think it's a great setup for the Gators. I think they will beat Marquette, because I don't think Marquette without that guard is as good as they are seeded at number 2. The Big East had 3 teams, QB, 3 teams get a bid, and they're going to give Marquette, the runner-up in the Big East, the number 2 seed. I think that works out wonderful for a 7-seeded team like the Florida Gators. So I think you're right. I think the South is a perfect place for Florida to end up, and I think getting to the Sweet 16, the path there is not too overwhelming, and I certainly don't think the East is that easy. Even though UConn, the number 1 seed, is in the East, you've got Auburn, you've got and 2 other tournament winners in the East, and that would be very difficult for me to, if I'm UConn, thinking, how did I get rewarded by allowing Illinois, the Big Ten champion, Auburn, the SEC champion, and in my region. So, and Iowa State is in the East. And so Iowa State, the number 2 seed, the Big 12 champion, is also rewarded by playing in UConn's bracket, so or region. So that they took the day off yesterday. They already knew who they were going to have and who they weren't going to have. And basically the tournament winners, just all that meant was just you're going here instead of there. That's all it meant.
Yeah, we're going to do a bracket challenge. Just post it on Facebook, and I think they can post it on YouTube as well. We'll have some prizes to give away. I think the committee needs to either all championship games are played on Saturday, and then they do that way. It gives them a whole day to because there was like 5 or 6 teams that took bids away from people because they won the smaller tournaments. Yeah. But you can't have the Big Ten tournament end at 5:45 and then the selection show at 6 o'clock Eastern. So if you still want to play those games on Sundays, do the selection show at 9 o'clock. Isn't that like prime time? So supposedly, I just don't know why they have to do it immediately at 6 o'clock when they're having championship game. But anyway, John says Auburn and Alabama shipped off to Spokane. You know what's interesting is UAB, I believe, is in that same area. I saw a tweet that all the schools in the state of Alabama should all get on the same charter flight and go.
Going out to Washington. But again, I mean, if I'm Auburn, I'm thinking to myself, great, we're going to get to play UConn in the Sweet 16. And it's not like they're going to be afraid of UConn, but they're not going to beat UConn. and so not in Boston. All right. So the East is really messed up, if you ask me. You got 3 tournament winners in the East. I can't repeat that enough. So I don't know, but listen,
but I really don't think the tournament committee put any weight on winning or how you played in your conference tournament. Think about it. The
right.
Gators were going to be a 7 seed. Even if they win the SEC tournament, I don't think it would have mattered. I really don't. Alabama didn't move. Kentucky didn't move from their line. Tennessee didn't move. So they had their minds made up. I agree with that.
Yes,
but it should be a lot of fun. As I stated, I absolutely love the bracket the Gators are in.
Yeah,
because even if Marquette has the Colic kid, their guard who's out, and I don't know what his injury is. He hasn't played in a while.
He hasn't played.
They're up and down. They're an up and down team. They're not a physical team, which plays right into our hands.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But it was a heck of a run in Nashville. You hate to see Micah go down like that.
Oh God, that poor kid. His parents were there. It's just I can't even. It breaks your heart. And I didn't watch it. I didn't see it. I was at the golf tournament yesterday, but it just tore me down when I read about it. And I'm feeling terrible for him. But I want to also say this, QB. We can't get too far ahead of ourselves because Boise State and Colorado are very capable teams. But I think Florida matches up very well with both of them. So
yes, they do. I thought this was interesting from the NCAA tournament. I don't know if you saw this, JC, but Long Beach State announced last week that they were parting ways with Dan Monson, their coach, after 17 years. Well, he goes out and wins the damn, wins his tournament, so he's still coaching, and he's been fired. I think that's hilarious.
What a swan song! I hope they win it all. Here's your national championship trophy. Now you must leave.
Yeah.
The Midwest is interesting. Purdue's got, I don't know what this love is with the Big Ten. I'm telling you, it's just ridiculous to me. Purdue has got such a cakewalk. Kansas does nothing for me with the health of their team. I think they're going to be okay.
Well,
but
I haven't even looked at the bracket. I just saw it briefly. I want to say Sanford plays Kansas. I'm taking Sanford in my bracket.
Sanford, yes, right, correct. That's right.
They can score. They can get up and down the field. I don't know who James Madison's playing. I'm taking James Madison. I think they're that good.
Wow. Okay. Well, Purdue gets their reward for losing in the Big Ten tournament, but having a good year nonetheless, is playing in Indianapolis. And then they get to go up the road to Detroit. Nobody's going to beat Purdue, I don't think. And it's just almost too easy for them. Houston, a couple of injury issues with Houston right now in the South. But I think that's the right seed for them. And, it's going to be tremendous. But anyway, Michigan State plays the Bulldogs. Then Mississippi State's reward is to play North Carolina. It was fun to watch them play this year. They'll get one more game in, and then they'll play North Carolina. I got to say, NC State's 5-day run was just unbelievable to me. I don't know. I guess it just shows you that these kids are young.
Well, it goes to show you that you say if Mississippi State advances, Mississippi State is very capable of beating North Carolina.
I think so.
Well, they're a lot better team than NC State. JC, NC State they were not even close to making the tournament.
They weren't even close. I know.
They weren't even sniffing.
Yeah.
The only way they got in is by winning it. So
by winning it. Yeah, they stole a spot from some of the Oklahoma. There were 5 teams, I think, that basically stole bids yesterday.
Yes, for sure. UAB,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oregon, the Ducks. The Ducks didn't have a chance either unless they won their conference tournament, and the damn Ducks beat Arizona, and they won, and they beat Washington State too. But there's Wisconsin at number 5. Duke is at 4. Duke's done nothing to impress me here recently. I think it's a cakewalk for the top seeds, except maybe UConn. But I think they're good enough to where it doesn't matter who they play. They're going to either play them in Boston they're going to play in Boston if they get to the Sweet 16. Then nobody's going to beat.
I hear what you're saying. It's a cakewalk for all the ones, but let's think about how many of those teams that are one seeds,
Uh-huh.
they didn't even get to their conference tournament championship.
That's
Only
true.
one, UConn.
That's true. Very true.
So that's why there will be a ton of upsets in this tournament, in my opinion. Radware is a family-owned business that prides itself in excellent customer service while providing quality and affordable promotional products and customized apparel. We got JC on the Titan More Hotline. Well, Mike Morgan, second portion of today's program. If you missed it, Gator baseball wins 2 out of 3 against the number 4 team in the country, the Aggies.
Yeah.
It was a great atmosphere.
Yeah.
Anytime you can win a series in baseball, for all the negative Nellies out there, okay? LSU, I want to say they're ranked number 2 in America.
They lost to Mississippi State.
They lost a series at Mississippi State. Okay.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. Alabama, who ain't very good in baseball.
They lost. No,
they won their series against a highly ranked team.
Tennessee.
So,
yeah.
Yes, Tennessee, I think, was 5 in America. They lost a series to Alabama. So these people, like I tell you, if you're going to sit here and be negative Nellies, you obviously have never competed or laced up any kind of sporting goods shoe. You go play the game. And that's why, if you've watched this basketball team all year, they have the ingredients to make a deep run. You got to play and dudes that can get after it that are 7 foot tall.
You're going to run off everybody, QB.
I don't care. It's a fact, yes. JC. How many people were bitching and complaining last week? Oh, we're going to get swept by A&M. We have no chance.
Right. No,
Gators lost to Vanderbilt. Who gives a damn?
Well, I mean, and to I'm patting ourselves on the back here. We basically said let's wait until we start hitting the panic button. Let's see how they play in the conference, and let's see how they do this weekend against A&M. And look what happened. So it's true. I mean, they have very good players. This is going to be a very good team, and they're going to be in a hunt to host a regional by the end of the year if they stay healthy. You got to believe that, or else why go?
Yeah. Tom says roll Tide. Tom, I almost did Rammer Jammer on JC, but it was kind of there was too many days late.
You know, it's true. And really, do you think Michael's parents care about that right now? I mean, and listen, the focus should be going toward the NCAA tournament and toward Indianapolis. So to Indianapolis and go watch the Gators play Boise State or Colorado and then beat Marquette. And so, that's how I'm looking at it. Is you get the basketball is funny. It's just like it's going to be the same way with baseball. All of this stuff that happened during the season and even the conference tournament is like meaningless now. This is like all that was just preparation and a staging process for what really matters, and that's where we're at now. It's like the 4th round of the TPC. If you shoot 64 and you put the ball in the fairway and you hold out a shot on number 4, you're probably going to win, even if you're 6 strokes back. Did anybody hit the panic button on Scotty Scheffler's camp on Saturday that he was 6 strokes back? Not one person didn't think in his camp, including himself, that he couldn't win that tournament. And look what he did. He won it again. So
yeah,
it's never over till it's over. Folks.
Yeah, we're going to get to golf in just a second, but talking about, they say the Gators aren't as deep now without Handlocked, and that's true, right. But it's false as well. We have 3 bigs by Tyree Samuel,
Condon,
and then Hawk. I mean, these when Condon and Hawk are in the game, or Hawk, them dudes get after it, dude.
Yeah,
they get
aggressive.
After it.
Very aggressive.
Yeah, so losing Micah does hurt a little bit. But it's one position that if there was an injury with the bigs, you're fine. You are fine.
So I'm walking the fairway and somebody said, oh, no, they're bringing a stretch shot for a Gator basketball player. And the first thing, me being the ultimate pessimist sometimes, I'm thinking, oh, God, what happened to Will Richard? What happened to Walter Clayton? Because they're the ones handling the ball, right? And not to diminish the severity or the sadness of what happened, but he's a player that I think, I don't take this the wrong way, but they can win if he doesn't play still.
Yeah, he was
the basket, and they got to score in this tournament to win it. Okay, that's all there is to it. They know that.
Ted's question on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel is Riley Kugel done? As I've been saying for the last 2 months. I mean, I'm not a basketball coach, but my eyes tell me when he's on the field, on the court, he just makes mistakes and just is not a great basketball player. And I think Todd Golden thinks the same way. He has not played 1 minute the last 2 games.
He gives you depth, and that's about right.
Well, I mean, he gives you just another body. I mean,
Yeah,
Denzel Aberdeen is the better athlete and the better player right now. People can talk about his NBA, blah, blah, blah. I don't care.
No.
It's what you do on the floor, and he has not played well enough, and the coaches don't trust him. The one thing, too, that I will tell people this, because I've been around these type of players that coaches continue to play, and the film don't lie, and you lose credibility with your team if you continue playing somebody who is not performing, if that makes any sense.
I agree with that.
Gator Ken says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. So why have a basketball tournament? All you do is get tired, hurt, and does nothing for your seeding. Well, that's not true.
The lower seeds.
NC State is in the tournament. UAB is now in the tournament. None of these teams had an opportunity to make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. And I think they don't give the mid-majors enough credit. They overvalue conferences, the Power Five. I'm so sick and tired of the Big Ten. The Big Ten has done absolutely nothing in 2 decades, okay? In 20 years, you haven't seen anything from the Big Ten that amounts to anything that deserves a constant 8, 9, 10 bids year in and year out. I'd much rather see Indiana State, who I think is more deserving, by the way, have the opportunity. Everybody's complaining about some of these teams that didn't make it. Well, these teams in the Power Five have 3 opportunities every year to make the tournament. You can play a good non-con, you can play and win the regular season games, or you can win your conference championship. And that's it. I mean, if you don't do it, you don't do it. I don't want to water down this field anymore. 64 is enough as it is, in my opinion. And teams like Indiana State, I just think
Indiana State deserve to get in. I don't care about their non-conference. I watched them play multiple times.
They do.
They are a very talented basketball team, and it's a shame because Michigan State, Clemson, some of these teams do not deserve to be in the tournament.
You're right.
Text on the Titan and More text line from Josh, Mississippi says, do you think the Gators basketball team got hosed by the committee giving them a 7 seed? How does that match up for them versus if they had a 5 or 6 seed?
No.
I don't think they got hosed. I mean, I think they're better than a 7 seed, but I love where they sit. Where they sit.
Look, I think Kentucky. Listen, Florida has they got. In my mind, as strange as this may sound, and I'd be curious if Mike Morgan would agree with this, but almost losing to Auburn, I think did them a favor by making them a 7 in the South instead of a 4 in the East. If Florida had beaten Auburn, I think it would have just been flipped. You would have put Auburn in the South and Florida in the East. Now, maybe I'm wrong about that, but the champion of the tournament should get something other than a reward to play UConn in the Sweet 16 in Boston. And that's not what Auburn's got. So I'd much rather be Florida with the possibility of playing Texas Tech, NC State, Kentucky, or Oakland in the Sweet 16 than UConn. I'd much rather be Florida right now than Auburn. And Auburn ended up winning this tournament thing. But if you ask me, and you look at the way the bracket works, I mean, Marquette, I think they're very, very beatable team. I don't number 2 seed, and there's only 3 teams in the Big East that made it. Only 3. Where the hell is St. John's? I mean, St. John's won 6 games. I swear they're sticking it to Pitino. That's what this is about. St. John's won 6 of their last 7 games, took UConn to the wire. And you're telling me that's not one of the 32 best teams that don't get an automatic bid? My butt, they aren't. St. John's is a very capable team and should be in the tournament instead of somebody like NC State stole it from them. And so did Oregon. And so did some of these other teams that won these tournaments. They stole these bids. But St. John's, to me, should be in this tournament, man. I mean, they were in a dogfight with UConn in the Big East tournament. I don't know.
Yep. All right. Golf yesterday. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Start hard to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. This Day in Sports, JC, back in 1990 at the Players, Jody Mudd wins by 1 stroke over Gator Mark Calcavecchia. How much do you think he won? How much do you think he won in 1990 for winning the Players?
I'd say he won $500,000.
$270,000. Yesterday, Scotty Scheffler won $4.5 million. Right. Scotty has won over $8 million just the last 2 weeks.
27 years old. God bless him, baby on the way.
He is so freaking good. It's scary.
He-
And I love the players, and it got exciting there yesterday. Wyndham Clark had opportunities for that eagle on. I thought he made the eagle on 16, and obviously he thought he made the putt on 18. But let me tell you something. We talked about this. I don't know if it was on the show.
Yeah.
They do need to change that to a par 70 or lengthen it. I do like the excitement that 16 can bring you on Sunday. So maybe just lengthen it a little bit.
Okay.
And maybe make 11, maybe make a par 71. I don't know, but that course is way too easy for those guys now.
If the wind's not blowing, it has no chance against these players. Now, some will say, well, golly, Ricky Fowler shot +2, and some of these guys, Justin Thomas didn't make the cut. And I get all that, but that happens in every tournament. The fact of the matter is, I looked at that grass yesterday. I walked the grounds. You have to really steer it hard to this way or that way to get.
Well, the fairways are huge.
They're huge fairways, and the rough around the greens can equalize, protect the greens in some case, like on number 9. But the course is meant to be taken over if there's no wind, and there was no wind, and that just made it very, very easy. Wyndham Clark had every chance. He only went 4 under in the last 2 rounds, though, and so he may have played a little bit too defensive. He is a great player. He will win another major. There's no question. Xander Schauffele drove number 12 yesterday. I couldn't believe what I saw. These guys have so much talent. It's just indescribable.
Well, number 12 is not a long hole, Jason.
It's not, but it's still, one of those holes that if you miss that green,
it's a great hole. It's a great hole because it's drivable. There's a pond to the left. I have no problem with that hole. I think 11 and 16 need to be tweaked because it's just too damn easy.
Yeah, we have talked.
They had 50. I think it was 58 eagles. Think about that. 58 eagles in one golf tournament.
That's way too many. Way too many. But Scheffler, 2 weeks in a row now, the final round, what he did at Bay Hill was impressive in the final round, going 15 under for the tournament. And then what he did yesterday, 6 under 64 or 8 under 64 is crazy good golf on Sunday. And it was helped by an eagle from the fairway. Okay, so that was kind of a lucky shot. But my God, what great execution by this player. He is the best player on the planet. He is better than anybody on LIV. You can kiss my butt, Paul Azinger. He is the PGA Tour has the best players in the world. There is absolutely no question. Not one person yesterday in the millions of people that were walking the grounds to even mention the LIV Tour. I didn't hear one person say, "What's John Rahm doing today? What is Cam Smith doing today?" Nobody cares. How about that? So I'm about it. I'm all about the PGA Tour. I think Wyndham Clark is tremendous, and I think you'll see him win another major soon.
Yes, I agree with that for sure. Live a healthier lifestyle with our bold, flavorful smoothies and our amazing food. Tropical smoothie. When you eat better, you feel better. A few more minutes with JC. Jeff says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Gators would have lost to Georgia without Riley Kugel. Perhaps something else happening, like suspension for breaking team rule. Maybe. He made a few free throws coming down the end, but he's not played much all year long.
Sounds like folks are defending Riley against you, Shane. They're trying.
Well, no. They're what they're doing is they're questioning the coach.
Yeah.
Think about that. The coach watches practice every day. He has a staff. They watch practice. They know the team chemistry. And all I do is watch the games on TV. And I've been saying it for months. He is not good enough to play on this basketball team. Now, he may transfer. He may go to the NBA and be great. That's fine. But with this team, we are not the same basketball team when he's on the floor.
Well, yeah. And, Ty Golden knows what he's doing, folks. It'll be okay.
Yes, he's a damn good basketball coach. And with X's and O's, he is very good. And the Gator Nation needs to be happy. We've locked him up for a while. That doesn't mean anything. But let me ask a very good basketball coach.
If you're sitting there in a week knowing that the Gators are about to play in the Sweet 16 against, let's say, NC State, you feel good about your chances? Or even Kentucky? I would say, hell yeah, you are. And so, folks, get on board and believe. I mean, I'm going to fill out my bracket today. and I've got Florida going right into that Sweet 16, no question about it.
See, I don't have the bracket in front of me, but we play the winner of the Boise, Colorado State. Then you would play the winner of Marquette and whoever they're playing.
They're playing Western.
Who would we play at? Let's just say we beat Marquette or whoever that is.
Yeah.
Who is the next matchup of the potential teams?
The potential teams are Texas Tech, NC State, Oakland, and Kentucky.
Yeah.
That's why I've been saying Auburn got, like, if I'm an Auburn fan, I'm thinking, wow, I just won the SEC tournament. I'm going to go to the Sweet 16 and get to play in Boston against UConn. And then the Gator fans saying, well, okay, I lost the SEC tournament, but I get to go to Detroit potentially and play NC State. Not Detroit, I'm sorry, wherever they go from Indianapolis. And I get to go play potentially NC State or Texas Tech or Kentucky even. And Kentucky is – Florida's beaten them already.
And if Florida were to win – Florida would to win, beat whoever's in all those teams you mentioned, where do they go then?
Then it would be the top side of that bracket, and the 1 seed is Houston, and the 4 seed is Duke. Okay, so you've got the top seeds on the top of our bracket in the South is Houston, Wisconsin, Duke, and Texas A&M, Nebraska. So let's say Houston beats Nebraska. Let's say Wisconsin and Duke play. Who cares? And then let's say Houston. It would be Houston in all likelihood. It's going to be the Houston Cougs, and that game would be in Dallas, Texas. So that's tough. But that game would be a nonstop flight from GNV to DFW, and you could get there relatively quickly, and it would be in Dallas. So you would get to play the Cougs in Dallas, and they eat all the great Mexican and barbecue you want. And it's a great season. And even if they don't beat – look, Houston looked very mortal against Iowa State, by the way. Iowa State is the real deal, and their reward was being put in UConn's bracket. But anyway, Iowa State hammered Houston, and Houston has some issues scoring points. So jumping way too far ahead, okay, Florida plays Houston, let's say. Houston can't score Florida. They are great defensively, but will they be able to keep up is the point. And so I don't know.
John says, I believe if A&M wins, they'll be matched up with Houston the next round. A&M is a Houston kind of team that has guard play that can win that game. So
and Houston's issue is offense. Their issue is not defense. They are athletic as living hell, but they've got injuries right now, and it showed against Iowa State. It showed. So I think you're right. A&M and Houston will be a track meet and something that nobody would want to miss. And then you got that snore fest with Duke and Wisconsin potentially. James Madison.
I don't think Wisconsin's going to win.
So James Madison will, let's say, play Duke. And let's all root for the Dukes to beat the Duke.
I think the Dukes will beat the Duke.
Will play the Duke. That's how the top of the South bracket goes. So this is a great – I think to me, Florida is really set up to succeed here. No excuses. They have a great opportunity. Great opportunity.
I agree. All right, JC. Okay. We'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Okay, guys.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. We're going to take a quick timeout. Come back. We'll be joined by Mike Morgan from the SEC Network. Get his thoughts on the brackets. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Comfort Temp, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar, If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruzover State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogderinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Going to head to the Titan MR hotline now, courtesy of Comfort Temp, and we're joined by the SEC Network's Mike Morgan. Good morning, Mike. He's also brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. How you doing, my man?
I like this. Pretty soon I'll be a NASCAR. I'll have like 17 sponsors on the hood,
Yes.
A couple on the on the dashboard. We'll be good to go, man. It's always good to talk to you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Well, the brackets came out. Before we talk about that, let's go back to the SEC tournament, man. What a tournament. What a run for the Gators. I'm not surprised at all. But what out of the tournament surprised you? Is it, Tennessee getting bounced early, Kentucky getting bounced? What surprised you the most?
Well, I think you mentioned the two top stories. I'm having a hard time figuring out Kentucky. Tennessee's done this enough to where, what's the expression? You normally hear it about a scorned person in a relationship. When someone keeps showing you who they are, believe them. Tennessee, with the exception of last year, is just not good in this tournament. I don't know why. I don't know how. And then if you want to take it to the next step, under Rick Barnes, who I think is an outstanding coach, they have not met expectations in the big tournament starting this week. So it's concerning because, look, the narrative all year, and I have led this narrative as much as anybody, is that the difference with this Tennessee team is they've got a bona fide scorer in Dalton Connect. They've got a bucket getter, and they haven't usually had that. They always defend well, and they've got scrappy guards, and they've got physical bigs, but they never really had a great scorer. Well, you've got a lottery pick, okay? You've got the player of the year in the SEC who had a half a dozen games where he scored 36 points. You just don't expect that kind of performance. And then Kentucky, golly, they continue to reel you in because they got a lot of bells and whistles, right? They are the sexiest team in the field because they've got the most first-round draft picks, the most dangerous scorers, the most seven-footers. They got everything you want. And unlike a lot of other Cal teams, they play well together offensively. They don't turn it over. They do shoot the three well. They're not just a bunch of athletes. They're actually ball players. But damn it, they just don't defend. And so as I start to fill out this bracket later today, it's going to be hard for me to have them going far. Like it would make all the sense in the world to have Kentucky and Florida meeting in the Sweet 16. It would just make all the sense in the world. But right now, I don't know how confident I am in Kentucky. A&M is the biggest surprise. I shouldn't be surprised because Buzz does this. He will lull you to sleep during the regular season. They'll have some inexcusable losses. They'll have some big wins, and you'll start to be down on them. Like, okay, Baldwin and Boots are overrated, and they play ugly, and I can't invest in them. And then they give you a run like they did in the tournament to make sure that they're getting in the big dance, which was definitely in peril going in. All that being said, Shane, the SEC, I still maintain, this is the deepest field we've ever had. Not just the raw number of 8, but because, to me, 7 of the 8 can go to the Sweet 16. And that's not going to happen. It might be 2, it might be 4, but 7 have the capability of doing so. And without question, Florida is one of those 7. Todd Golden's team was outstanding. I think they showed themselves very, very well. And it's the same type of – the last game I did there against Missouri, I turned over when we got done with the broadcast, I turned to my left and I said to the radio crew, good luck in the Sweet 16, guys. And they kind of looked at me like, I said, that's a Sweet 16 team if I've ever seen one. Now, a lot has to do with the draw. I do not like having to play Marquette in the second round if you get there. I don't really love the draw for Florida, to be honest with you, but I don't love it for a lot of the SEC teams. Yeah, I mean, Marquette is – I get it. Marquette plays in a conference that most people don't pay a lot of attention to outside the Northeast, but they're damn good. They really are. And then if let's just say it is Kentucky in the Sweet 16, I'm not wild about that game either because Kentucky's awfully dangerous. Like I thought Florida could have easily been a 6 seed, not a 7. And B, when I look at some of the other 7s, Dayton's playing Nevada. And then if they beat Nevada, they've got, I mean, Arizona's obviously a tough draw. Washington State's got Drake, and then they would theoretically play Iowa State. I mean, they're all tough. There's no gimmies. But I thought Florida was underseeded as a 7. I thought they should have been a 6. And I think there's some really dangerous games on there, even in the early rounds.
Yeah. See, I think I love our draw because I've watched Marquette. I think they match up really well. We do with them because they're not a physical type team. They like to get up and down the floor. Now their guard, who was like the player of the year in the Big East last year, I believe, he's been hurt. He hasn't played the last couple of weeks. I don't know if he's going to be back. He did not play in the Big East tournament at all. So, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but you got to win the first game to even have a chance to play Marquette. So we'll see, but it's a fun time of the year. You watch a lot of ACC basketball too, Mike. I cannot believe that Clemson got in the tournament. I've watched them play, and I feel like even Indiana States of the world, even if their schedule's not that tough, they look like a better team to me than Clemson. Have you watched Clemson play at all? I know you were busy doing SEC games.
Oh yeah.
They're very good.
Well, and they weren't dominating in the ACC either. They're getting in. See, they learned a valuable lesson from last year. Last year, the non-con kept them out. This year, the non-com gets them in. They had enough good quality wins in November, December before conference play started. That's why they went in and leapfrogged some other ACC teams that they actually finished behind, like a Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh finished with a better record in conference than Clemson, but Clemson got in and Pittsburgh got out. And a lot of people thought Pittsburgh should have been in, but it was. I think people still have a hard time with this. November, December games, according to the net, which they look at and definitely looked at in this case, although they didn't go completely net. Otherwise, Indiana State, for example, would be in with a top 30 net. They're the first top 30 net team to not make the field. And they would have been a great story with the whole, the last time they've been there, Larry Bird. They've got a couple of kind of unique looking players with weird nicknames and all. America would have fallen in love with the Sycamores. But the committee doesn't care about that. But the committee just basically said, Clemson, based on the metrics and based on some wins in November, December, you are in, and some of those other bubble teams are out. I don't think it's a great team either, Shane, and the way they play is very symptomatic of some of the other teams that you were talking about that are just, they win ugly. They're not fun to watch. That's typically a Brad Brownell team, but they do have some talent, and they are a team that's, I think, good enough for the field of 68. I just think that their November, December is, quite frankly, what got them in.
We got a text here on the Tatumar text line, a little off topic, talking college baseball, from Jack. He says, Mike, I was watching the Gator game against Florida State last week, and the 2 ESPN announcers were doing it like COVID at home. Why would they not send them to the ballpark?
That is the new leadership in the baseball department. And all I can tell you is that has become the norm. The if you'll notice, most of the regular season games, regardless of the quality of game, the announcers will be at home. That's not a COVID thing, obviously. That is something different than that. It's about all I can say on it for obvious reasons. But yeah, that will not be the last time that you see that this year or going forward.
Yeah. Mike, Auburn, you've covered Auburn. Obviously, some people, they all know about Bruce Pearl. Whatever you want to say, he's a hell of a basketball coach. I was wrong. I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. I've watched Auburn play a lot this year. I just didn't think they were a great shooting team, but I'll be dang, they shot the lights out yesterday. Now that doesn't mean it's going to translate into the tournament, but with their physicality, his X's and O's, do you think Auburn is one of the teams in the SEC that can go the deepest?
I do. The thing I like about Auburn is their depth. They play 10 guys, 15 minutes or more. That might have been changed a little bit. Maybe it's 9 instead of 10. But the bottom line is they're one of the deepest teams in the field. And Florida ran into a buzzsaw. So everybody that played Auburn in this SEC tournament ran into a buzzsaw. Like they all of a sudden, and this is the magic of Bruce Pearl, who, by the way, I mean, Todd Gold will tell you that the reason why he's coaching an SEC team is because of Bruce Pearl. That experience helped pave the way, and Bruce helped pave the way for people to know how good a coach Todd Golden is, and they remain very tight. But Bruce, there's certain years where Bruce has the right combination of personalities and players where he can get them to play with an absolute fireball in their you-know-what. The way they are playing right now, it is just absolute max to the max on every possession. Every player out there, it is like they're playing for, their lives. It's they're unbelievably connected, dialed in, whatever cliche you want to use. They're all of that and then some, and they've got just enough athletes to make a run. It's a different team that won the SEC tournament and went to the Final Four years ago. That team, I thought, might have been more skilled. I don't think this is the most talented of Bruce Pearl's teams by any stretch, but the way they can just suffocate opponents over 40 minutes, that's the beauty of it. So, yeah, I think they're wired to make a pretty good run. See, teams like in Alabama, I want to feel real confident in, but I can't because there's going to be a game where they just struggle to shoot the ball from three, and that's going to knock them out. A&M, there's going to be a game where they simply struggle to score. Now, they can win a game ugly as much as anybody can, but there's going to be a game like that. South Carolina, I mean, that's a scary matchup to me in the opening game against Oregon. Oregon's an 11 seed that just won another Pac title. I think they've won 4 under Dana Altman, and they got their big man, who's one of the best in this tournament. He's healthy now to go along with Kusnard and so there's some SEC teams that are going to get bounced in the first round. I just don't know which ones they are, but they're not all going to the Sweet 16. Like we've heard it. People like me have said it. They're all capable, but I promise you there are going to be some teams that get their hearts broken on either Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, and I want to say I heard last night Dana Altman, who's the coach at Oregon, has never lost a first-round game in the NCAA tournament. So
yeah,
that is a tough matchup for the Gamecocks for sure. Text on the Titan More text line from George. He says, Mike, what kind of upsets do you have in the first week of the tournament?
I haven't filled out a bracket yet. I mean, I'm on top of everything else, I'm catching a flight to Baton Rouge today because Mark Wise are doing the LSU North Texas game, the NIT game, which every time this year people say, Mike, what NCAA tournament game are you working? We don't own the rights to that, right. We being ESPN. That is CBS and TBS, so you will not see any of the announcers you've watched all year long. You'll see a bunch of new guys parachute in there and try not to mispronounce the names of the various players that they haven't seen over the last 5 months. I'm not really just dialed into who I think. Look, UConn to me is the best team. That's not going out on a limb, but they also have the toughest bracket. I mean, Auburn as a 4 seed. I love Illinois. Love Illinois. If Illinois was in any other bracket, or any other region, I'd have them in the Final Four. But the fact that they put them with Auburn as a 4, UConn as a 1, Iowa State as a 2, that is the most stacked bracket. By the way, FAU's in there as an 8. Man, oh man, oh man. San Diego State is a 5. Those are 2 Final Four teams from a year ago. Andy Kennedy's UAB team is a 12. I love that bracket. So that is going to be brutal. And to your point, Shane, I'm not saying Florida's region is the toughest by any stretch. So if they can just survive those first 2 games, then I love Florida in the South. I just the Colorado is tricky if it is Colorado, and Marquette if they're healthy, then Marquette to me is very dangerous in the second game, and then I don't know if it's going to be Kentucky or not, but if it is Kentucky, first off, it's a hell of a matchup. Kentucky and Florida, Sweet 16, SEC love. I hope it does turn out to be that. But Tech is dangerous. I think NC State runs out of gas, quite frankly. 5 games in 5 days. That's a great story, but I do think they run out of gas. I love the 12s. I like it. Everybody always picks a 12-5. Holy smokes. I mean, I had JMU. They can beat Wisconsin. UAB can beat San Diego State. Grand Canyon. Think about this. Bryce Drew at Vanderbilt, in his first year, goes to the NCAA tournament. In his third year, he gets Darius Garland, a lottery pick, to come to Vanderbilt. Now, Darius Garland goes out. He tears up his knee in like the 5th game, never plays. They don't win a game in conference, so they fire him after 3 years. They hire a G League coach in Jerry Stackhouse who never sniffed the tournament and just fired him after 5 years. Bryce Drew has made 2 tournaments at Grand frickin' Canyon. The guy can coach. So they're at 12. The Antelopes, slopes up, baby. I think Grand Canyon as a 12 beats St. Mary's as a 5. And McNeese, coached by Will Wade. Yes. What a story that would be if they win a game against Gonzaga. I think you could see 3 12s win a game against 5s. And I like a couple of 11s as well. So there's going to be plenty of upsets on Thursday and Friday, I promise you.
I agree 100% with that. We had a question here earlier. I can't figure out who it was from on Facebook Live, talking about a lot of teams are declining their invitations to the NIT. What do you think about that? I know Ole Miss and a couple other ones, St. John's, a couple other people decline. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I don't like it. Now, sometimes, like if it's a coach on his way out, then I get it. You know, if a coach is getting fired or leaving for whatever reason, then what's the point? I'm a little surprised. Now, Ole Miss would not – I'm not sure if they would have hosted or not. I can't remember if they were ranked ahead of LSU or not. But the top 2 from every power conference like the SEC get to host. That's why LSU and Georgia are hosting. But, no, I mean, I think Florida's played in a few of these the last few years. I think it's beneficial to the players. I think it's beneficial to the program. And look, if all I hear from a lot of these players is ball is life, well, then why not keep balling? What do you have that's better to do than they keep playing college basketball games? They're all getting paid now. The travel's pretty good last time I checked. So I get it. Like the NIT is this ultimate dichotomy of you want to compete, but then you're disappointed you didn't make the field. Rick Pitino and St. John's, clearly that's like a protest vote. They thought they should have been in. They were on the bubble. They didn't make it. I had Pitino and Iona in Gainesville a couple of years ago, and it was a great story. And the following year, they made the NCAA tournament with a lot of the same players. So it's not 100% unusual. It's happened a few times, but look, I still say if you're a competitor, it's like backing out of a bowl game. Why?
Yeah.
You know, and why do that? I mean, in that case, you might be getting ready for the NFL draft. Some of these guys, that's not happening here. There's no NBA combine happening in the next couple of weeks. So go out and compete is what I would think.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, you know, it used to be, you know, it's kind of like spring ball. You get more playing time for your young team to gel preparing for next year. Well, your entire team's going to be different. You know, like I'm thinking about an Ole Miss. Chris Beard is probably already out in the portal talking to an entire
Yeah.
different roster. So I think that has a lot
That's
to
a great
do with
point. No, that's a great point. And Rick Pitino all year long said, even though they started winning, I don't like this team. I don't like our guys. I've never had a group that doesn't compete the way this way, So there clearly he doesn't like his team. And Chris Beard, I'm 100% with you. So many of those players were holdovers from the last staff that they were the same player. Like Matthew Morrell does not get better. He could be there for 27 years. He's a good but never great player. I kept waiting for him to peak and become the player that I thought he could be. It just never happened. And he's got like 7 more of those guys. So that you're right. That's the least surprising of the ones that backed out. But for the ones that are in it, I think once you start playing, by the way, you know where the Final Four for the NIT is going to be this year? It used to be MSG. It's going to be at Finkel. It's going to be at Hinkle Fieldhouse. Yeah, where Hoosiers was filmed. Where Butler plays their home. I've actually been to Hinkle. It is an awesome place. I was there to do an Indianapolis Colts game, and I actually, while I had some free time, went over to Hinkle, empty gym, started putting up some shots, Shane. Had to hit a few threes in that glorious building. It's fantastic. So that's where the Final Four for the NIT is this year for anybody that makes it.
Cool. All right, last text here before we get you out of here on the Titan MR text line. Mike, this is from Frank. He says the Gators will have to double scout the play-in teams. How big of a challenge will this be? That's a great point.
That's a great question. And nobody really talks about that, but I think that is a factor because, granted, the first game you've got a few more days, and the second game is essentially a 2-day scout, which I guarantee you they're already working on that as well. Somebody's already taken a look at potential opponents for the second round, and it's not a blank sheet of paper. You've got something down on that one. But yeah, you've got to be ready. If you're Florida, you've got to be ready for both teams. So you're breaking down film on both teams. You're somebody's in charge of this scout, somebody's in charge of that scout. Now, but again, that's why you have a staff. That's why you have an assistant coaching staff. So they'll be prepared to do it. But when you go and you're practicing, you're not doing it the same way for Colorado as you are Boise State. It's two different items entirely. That's a great point.
Yeah, because most teams right now have 4 or 5 days to prepare for their opener, when we'll only have about 2 days, maybe 3 days once you figure out who wins that game. Mike, good stuff as always. We'll be watching you on the NIT, and we'll talk to you next week, my man.
One of the most fun times of the year, and I'm glad Gator fans got to get back in this dance, which is where they should be, and enjoy it. And we'll see if they can make a run. I still think, I hate the hand-locked an injury, but I still think this team is a real dangerous team and should be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Appreciate your time, Mike.
Thanks,
we'll
Shane.
talk to you next week. That's Mike Morgan from the SEC Network. Join us on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Sim. Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. Don't forget our bracket challenge is posted on the Facebook page. I think they can get it on YouTube as well. Go there. I'll let you guys know tomorrow, Wednesday, what the prizes will be. Have a great day. Take care.